In Formula One testing, the fastest single lap time means absolutely nothing, yet every year we fall for the same trap. Right now, the entire racing world is buzzing about Kimi Antonelli's blistering 1 minute 33.669 second lap for Mercedes. It's on every headline, it's all over social media, and it's being framed as the dawn of a new era. But if you talk to any engineer standing in the Bahrain pit lane, they'll tell you the same thing, that time is a total lie. While the fans are celebrating the leaderboard, the experts are looking at something much quieter and far more devastating. They are looking at Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari. To understand why, you have to look at the hidden math of a Formula One car. These cars are essentially sensitive scales on wheels. For every 10 kilograms of fuel you put in the tank, the car loses about 0.3 of a second every single lap. A car running on empty for a glory lap is a completely different beast than a car loaded up for a race. When Antonelli set that fast time, he was running on fumes. But when Lewis Hamilton took his Ferrari out on Friday afternoon, he was carrying a massive fuel load. And yet the pace he produced sent actual shockwaves through the paddock. The uncomfortable truth is that while Mercedes took the trophy for the fastest lap, Ferrari just executed a race simulation that proves they are operating on a different level. In the world of 2026 testing, the timesheets you see are irrelevant, and the data suggests the washed veteran is about to make the entire grid look very, very foolish. To really understand the magnitude of what Lewis Hamilton just did, you have to look past the flashy graphics and dive into the raw endurance of a 150-lap marathon. On the final day in Bahrain, Hamilton treated his Ferrari like a laboratory, grinding out a full Grand Prix distance that revealed the car's true soul. The most telling data comes from a direct 28-lap comparison. Over those 28 laps, the gap between Hamilton and the rest of the grid wasn't just a small margin, it was a chasm. When you compare him to the reference pace set by Antonelli, Hamilton trailed by only 7.5 seconds. That sounds like a lot until you remember that Hamilton was dragging enough fuel to power a small city. When you look at the drivers on similar heavy fuel programs, the results are frightening. Hamilton was a staggering 18 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri's McLaren and a massive 21.4 seconds clear of George Russell's Mercedes. This level of performance isn't just about a driver having a good day, it's about mechanical dominance that can be mathematically proven. Engineers use a method called percentage of pace to cut through the noise. It looks at how close a car can get to the absolute limit while carrying a heavy load. Historically, this is the most accurate predictor of who will win the first race. Applying that logic here, Ferrari emerges as the true P1. It shows a car that is remarkably consistent, lap after lap, with almost zero drop-off as the tyres get older. In the paddock, this is known as consistent excellence, and it's the one thing you simply cannot fake. By the time Hamilton finished his final stint, the data had already told a story that the rivals didn't want to hear. The SF26 might already be the benchmark. This leap in performance is the result of some seriously clever engineering. If you looked at the Ferrari when it first broke cover in Barcelona, it had an aggressive, dipping, drooped front wing. But in Bahrain, that was gone, replaced by a much flatter, more streamlined profile. This change creates outwash, pushing dirty air away from the car's body. For a driver like Hamilton, who needs a front end he can trust, this makes the car incredibly predictable. It means he can throw the car into a corner and know exactly how it's going to react. But the real magic is the new active aerodynamics. Ferrari has a unique solution. A single, central hydraulic actuator hidden inside the nose. It's how they use it that's brilliant. Observers noticed that Ferrari staggers how the wings open. The rear wing snaps open a fraction of a second before the front. This isn't a mistake. It's a deliberate design to keep the car's balance stable during high-speed transitions. It's a level of sophistication Mercedes and Red Bull haven't shown yet. Then there's the back of the car. Paddock insiders call the SF26's diffuser an airplane because it's so massive. Ferrari designed an extender section that reaches all the way to the rear wing mount, something Mercedes couldn't match. They've added a mouse hole, a small opening in the floor that sucks in extra air to keep flow smooth. Ferrari has essentially found a way to cheat the wind, giving them more grip without the extra drag. As these numbers circulated, the mood in the paddock shifted to a frantic panic. In F1, there's a game called Pass the Parcel. where every team insists someone else is the fastest. But the mask is slipping at McLaren. Team principal Andrea Stella admitted that Ferrari and Mercedes are currently in a league of their own. This wasn't just modesty. Lando Norris looked genuinely concerned when he said McLaren still has a pretty big step to make. When the reigning world champion says he isn't close to the Ferraris, people listen. While McLaren is being honest, Mercedes and Red Bull are playing a complex political game. Toto Wolff and George Russell have spent days calling Red Bull's new engine scary. It's a classic diversion. If they convince everyone Max Verstappen is the favourite, it keeps the spotlight off their own engine secrets. But Verstappen isn't falling for it. He laughed and told the media to add a 0 to Mercedes' horsepower claims. He knows exactly what they are doing, accusing them of extreme sandbagging. Between the lines, a clear pattern emerges. The teams that are struggling are telling the truth because the numbers don't lie. Meanwhile, the teams at the top, like Ferrari, are downplaying their pace. This is the testing dance, but you can't ignore the physical reality. While others argue over power, Hamilton's Ferrari is delivering laps that nobody else can match. The rivals are shaking, but they're also trying to make sure you're looking at anyone else but the man in the red car. This is even more shocking when you realise how low the expectations were for Hamilton. His 2025 season was a disaster. He finished 6th, with no podiums for the first time ever. Critics said he'd lost his mojo at age 40. The narrative was that he moved to Ferrari for a retirement paycheck. But Ferrari engineer Jock Clear, who worked with Michael Schumacher, sees a different story. He reminds everyone that when Schumacher joined Ferrari in 1996, it took 5 years to win a title. The difference now? Hamilton doesn't need 5 years because the 2026 regulations have reset the sport to 0. The playing field is truly level. Mercedes no longer has hybrid dominance, and Red Bull is entering this era without their design genius, Adrian Newey. Without Newey's magic touch, Red Bull looks vulnerable, sliding to 4th in the testing order. Hamilton is busy mastering a machine that rewards his clinical style. He isn't just surviving, he's leading the charge. However, these 2026 rules have introduced a challenge many drivers hate. The new power units shift almost half of the car's power to electricity. Max Verstappen called these cars Formula E on steroids because drivers have to lift and coast hundreds of meters before a corner just to save power. It's a frustrating way to drive, but this is where the gap between the good and the great shows. While Verstappen complains, Hamilton has quietly leaned into the complexity. He has always been a master of managing hidden systems, and that skill is now a secret weapon. He has found a rhythm with energy deployment that allows him to maintain speed where others falter. Reliability is the final piece of the puzzle. Usually, new rules mean engines explode, but Ferrari has put on a masterclass. They use the same power unit for 840 total laps. That is nearly 80 more than Mercedes. This tells us the SF26 isn't just a glass cannon built for one fast lap, it's built to survive. Combining Hamilton's tactical genius with a bulletproof car creates a package ready to dominate. We must mention the fine print, though. Timing systems suffered outages, and Hamilton's run happened in the cool evening when the track was at its grippiest. George Russell had to run in the blistering morning heat. We also can't forget that Mercedes might still be hiding performance. But even with those caveats, the momentum is with the red cars. And the scary part? This isn't even the final version. Ferrari is bringing a Spec B package with a redesigned floor and lighter chassis to the next test. If Hamilton was already breaking records with the basic version, the upgraded model could put them out of reach. Ultimately, testing is about finding proof of life. And in Bahrain, we found it. After years of watching Hamilton struggle with cars that didn't suit him, the numbers have finally shifted. We've seen the pace, the innovation, and the genuine concern of his rivals. There are miles to go, but as the sun sets on Bahrain, one thing is certain. For the first time since Lewis Hamilton pulled on that red suit, the data finally supports the dream.